Hey everyone, it's Libby from Meister Tarot. I'd like to acknowledge the Warramah First Nations people and absolutely thrilled to have you, your guides, my guides, and the universal energies with us today. Okay, this reading, so today I'm just having a bit of a wander around Trump world, the DOJ, Jack Smith, the GOP, etc. It's time I had a little bit of a look at that. What I want to have a look at in this particular reading is the future of the GOP, literally the collapse of the GOP is what I'm wanting to have a look at. So I just want to have a look at the GOP at the moment. All the Dems have to do, stand back, do what the Dems need to do to get reform through for the people of the United States, the everyday person. They don't need reform for conglomerate capitalist massive corporations, etc. They need reform, and they need infrastructure, and they need strengthening for those of the middle and working classes. So the Democrats just need to sit back and let the GOP tear itself apart, which is what it is doing at the moment, because you have the far right factions laying into the moderate right faction pushing back at the... It's just a mess. And then you have those in the middle that don't know which way to go. Okay, show me the story. So using my intuition cards, for those that haven't met them before, they are cards that Meister and I created, and they tell a story. So we just lay the story out and follow it along, and hopefully I get the message right. So don't blame the boys, blame the messenger if the message isn't right. Okay, tell me about the collapse of the GOP. The collapse of the GOP. Okay, let's have a look. How's that for a first card out? Okay, this is the death of the GOP that we're talking about here. Division. Division and loyalty. A cup full. Fate, destiny, health. Feminine, no. I don't even know if that line needs explaining, but let's go through it. The death of the GOP through division of loyalties. The full cup is going through this cycle of fate and destiny and karma. Literally, this is Wheel of Fortune. What was on top is going to end up on the bottom. And it came down to, right, the initial was the Roe versus Wade ruling. And just that was, the women have stood up and said no. The women and the youth. I don't actually have a youth card. I should put a youth card in here. But it is really, okay, COVID, Roe versus Wade, everything to do with health was the straw that broke the camel's back. I often get that back to front and say the camel that broke the straw's back, but that doesn't logically make sense. But it was the health decisions that were the tipping point, and the women have stood up and said no. Magic happening, wealth, communication, overseas, confinement, restriction, trust, security, masculine, fast. Okay. Love that this card is in the middle here. Masculine. Sorry, my bad. Ah, right. First line, let's try that again. Death of the collapse of the GOP through division of loyalty. They had this full cup that is turned, but was the health decisions made by men which were wrong? Completely wrong. This line is telling me that within those that within power, they thought magic could happen, and they have been magic and wealth, communications overseas, getting the news from overseas, communication. Thank you. They've been basically told what to do from overseas. However, they're now finding themselves in this position of restriction. The trust on the home front by women has come through quickly. Trust on the home front by women. Fleeing restriction. Okay, let's see where it goes. As I said, these can be quite... They do tell a story, but often you need to lay the whole lot out to get the whole story. Minus. Okay. There's no faith in the party at the moment. This is a leap of faith. There is no faith in the in the party at the moment. And the world is just sitting back and watching. It's got the alien, fear, stop, rebuilding, strength, convoluted. Okay. So there's no faith in the party at the moment, anywhere, on the world stage. The world is also watching in comfort at this alien thing that the democracy has gone through. Alien. Okay. The GOP works on the fear of the alien, whereas the rest of the world are going, well, not the rest of the world, but a good portion of the world are just watching on at this fear of the alien. But that's going to stop as the country is rebuilt in strength, but it's going to be a long and convoluted path. Talking amongst themselves, time, past, country, rural, in, hard work, difficult messaging, convoluted, loss, go, drop in the ocean. Okay, what have we got going on here? The gossip over time in the past in the rural areas has got the GOP the in. But through hard work and difficult messages, this intertwining that is leading to poverty has got to go. Thank you. And haven't seen that. Usually it's a stop, but has got to go. Drop by drop. Peace. Dark clouds. Down. Up. Key. Blank card. Deliberately blank. Nothing yet written on it. Okay. Okay. Peace within the party is under this dark cloud. And it is, down. To move up, the key is something that they have not grasped as yet. The supreme idea of a supreme ruler is literally evil and has to be destroyed, has to be broken down. This idea of one person being this godlike figure is just leading to this devil energy, and that's got to be destroyed before they find peace and happiness. But before they find peace and goodness, before they find their way back. Okay, thank you. Before they find their way back. Okay, let's look at this whole story. I'll just bring you down ever so slightly and move these. Well, I'll just move these up a little bit so we can see the whole story. Because they do tell it, and at the base is a crossroads. The GOP is literally at this crossroads point. Okay. So the question was, Tell me about the collapse of the GOP. The death of the GOP is division of loyalty. Say no more. The full cup is undergoing this fate, destiny, karma moment, this wheel of fortune, and it was because of health decisions made by men. And now when I say men, I'm talking masculine energy, not literally men, and I would put the Bobarts and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and such likes in this masculine energy. And the country, the majority of the country have stood up and said no. And I think a portion of the GOP have also stood up and said no, and that's proven by the passing of the Marriage Rights Act by the Senate. It's gone back to the upper house, it's gone back to the lower house, House of Reps, and it will pass there as well. And it passed with a good portion of GOP votes as well. So this is basically that line. The magic and wealth that has been garnered by the messages that are being put out overseas, so this is Igor in the basement, is going to be restricted. Thank you. As I said, usually I need to get the whole spread before I actually work out what is happening. There will be a rebuilding of trust on the home front and the women, and it will happen fairly quickly. So I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a collapse, and they're going to rebuild, but they have to go through a process for this. So the wealth and the magic through the three-word slogans. And the support of overseas is going to be restricted. The trust on the home front and women needs to be rebuilt quickly. Doesn't say they're going to do it. It needs to be. There is no faith in the party at the moment. Sorry, I'll move you back a bit. Let's have a look. There is no faith at the moment. The world is watching on in the comfort of our lounge rooms, to be honest. At this fear of the unknown. And that needs to stop before it can be rebuilt in strength, but it's going to be a long and difficult path for them. So this fear of the unknown is going to need to be stopped. The fear of other. Now I'll say other in inverted commas, because that's how the GOP plays. The fear-mongering of others. The spouting of all South Americans are drug killer murderers or whatever. The African Americans are, I don't know, the gang related. Just this fear mongering that the GOP goes through, of fear mongering of others, has to stop before it can be rebuilt. Before it can be rebuilt with any strength. But they're going to find it a long, twisty, convoluted path. It's not going to be easy for them. What have we got on this next line? We have the messaging, the gossip over time, in the past, in the country, is going to take hard work. Because they talk. I lived on farm for many, many years. Also, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that the rural has been left in the past over time. The rural has been left in the path over time, and it's going to take hard work. There's going to be some harsh messaging that's going to come forward. This is my Jester card. The don't shoot the messenger card, because it's a message that needs to be heard. And it is intertwined with poverty. And the poverty has to go before progress can be made, before every drop in the ocean can be made. The peace is under a dark cloud and is on the way down. And I think this has a lot to do with it, this line. To move upwards, the key, which has not been written yet, the GOP do not understand yet, they do not know which way to go, but the key that is not understood yet is that this setting up of one person as the godly regime figure is toxic, and it needs to be destroyed before the party will find peace and goodness. So at the moment, it was Trump. They've moved their loyalties, some of them to DeSantis, but again, they're just setting DeSantis up as this godlike figure, and that needs to be broken down before they find the way forward. And the GOP are literally at the crossroads moment at the moment. Okay, so that was a little bit of insight. Doesn't tell me what is going to happen, but it's just where it's at now and what needs to happen. So we shall watch that with interest. Thank you for joining me. That was a little bit of around the traps. If you've got any questions, pop them down below, or if you feel you can't make them publicly, then email me at meistertarot@gmail.com, and I'd love to hear from you all. So take care, look after yourselves. Bye-bye.